What's going on, Commanders fans? Welcome back. It's another episode of the Believe in Commanders show. Brian Murphy is down in Atlanta. I'm Anthony Armstrong, I'll say the original 13, but now you got Emmanuel Forbes in the building, so he can hold it down for the next decade or so, especially if he's getting pick sixes. Brian Murphy, how you doing, man? What's going on?
I'm good. We're recording this on Friday after the schedule release, so the weekend is basically here. So I'm feeling good. Anytime the weekend gets here, it means we're one Sunday closer to the NFL season kicking off, which is what this whole episode's about. But I'm good. How are you doing?
I am awesome, man. Great start to the morning. I woke up early, got a little meditation in,
Very
so that
nice.
kind of helped, clear the slate for the day. It set me up for victory. Then I found $20 in my pocket. So I
That's a
mean, I'm
great day.
I'm I'm good right now, man. I mean, I'm
That's a
good.
great
We get
day.
to talk a little schedule release. I found $20. Meditated, man. Everything is good. Life
You,
is awesome right now. Everything is abundant.
yeah, you can head
It's
to
abundant,
bed. It doesn't get much better than that. After this, you might just pack it up for the day because you've
man.
maybe it gets
Well,
better. Hopefully, it gets better. Continues to get
I
better.
I'm just gonna roll with the momentum and see what we get. I figure it's got to keep going up, going in the right direction. Might make a bet or two. Matter of fact, I did make a bet or two after our last episode. We were talking about the schedule being released, and then
Hmm.
made my way to Bet Online to put a couple of future bets down on what I thought was going to happen with the Commanders this upcoming season. But Brian, tell these good folks about Bet Online, and then I'll show y'all what Bet Online looks like at the same time. Brian, go ahead.
Yeah, betonline.ag is your number one source for all your basketball info, stats, news, and scores. We know how good they are with football. Same thing with basketball as the playoffs roll on. Get the latest odds and lines, including the latest player reports for this year's pro basketball playoffs. BetOnline is always your sports information headquarters this season and beyond, as we have you covered for all your sports wagering needs: basketball, MLB, NHL, hockey, right on to UFC and boxing as well. BetOnline is the fastest and easiest way to get your betting info, including live betting options and your favorite casino and card games you can play right from your home. So grab your tablet, grab your laptop, grab your phone, head to the website today, or even use your mobile device, whatever you got. Just get in on the action. Be sure to use our code BLEAV to receive your 50% welcome bonus on your first deposit. That's BLEAV. Anthony's got it pulled up on the screen, and that's Bet Online where the game starts.
BetOnline is a fun place to go and hang out, especially if you're feeling good about your squad, or you just want to put a future bet down. You want to take some odds. I mean, if I'm looking at something, let's say NFL futures, I'm clicking on it right now. If you're watching, you get to see this happening live. Super Bowl futures, Super Bowl exact matchup. You can pick that
Ooh.
division futures. Who's going to win the NFC East? Let's see. What are the odds right now? What do you think? The Commanders are not the favorite to win. They are plus 1100 to
Boo.
win the division. So hey, hey,
Long
you make
shot,
that
pay
bet. I
off.
mean, long shot could pay off, right? So you never know. You may hit lightning in a bottle. You may hit lightning in a bottle. But either way, I think I put down some. There's a bet about the win total. Bet Online has it plus or minus 6.5. And then what else? I think I'm making the playoffs. You could pick any individual team that they could make the playoffs. So played around with that
Fun
a little
stuff.
bit yesterday. So it's one of those things I'll forget about, and then when it happens, I'll be like, oh yeah, I did call that back in May of 2023. But let's see. Get to the topic of the day. Yesterday was an exciting time in the NFL. They made it more exciting because, frankly, a lot of the NFL teams' social channels get to be they just go into overdrive
Yeah.
with these schedule release events and posts and all of that. So Brian actually abstained from finding out and paying
Yeah.
attention to all the leaks that were out there on the Twitter Spaces and the Instagram. So Brian, first talk about that. How was resisting the urge
Yeah.
to go and get any of the information you wanted?
Yeah, I'm big on, and I mindlessly do it. That's how I saw a couple. I have to be honest that I saw a couple. I think I could be wrong. They could have been, fake leaks or something like that. But yeah, I had to stay off social media, which was weird for me. Usually I'm scrolling, staying right up to the minute. But I was like, you know what? I want to be authentic. I want to be real. So For the most part, I don't know the schedule, which is kind of fun. And then I'll look forward to going back and watching all the videos of teams and their releases, because I didn't want to see any other teams either, just in case the Commanders came up. We knew the opponents and all that, so I did make sure to watch the Titans. That one has been going around where they interview folks on the street. I don't know if you saw that, Anthony.
I saw it.
Hilarious,
I saw
hilarious.
it, but frankly, I was my Bluetooth, my headset was not in my ear, so I was
Oh,
watching it without sound, and I was trying to like read lips,
you gotta,
and I was trying, and I would see this is what they had said, and I was like, "What?" And then thinking now, I'm like, I got to listen to this one
yeah.
because it's obviously hilarious as to what went down.
Yeah, pretty funny stuff. So go check that out. I knew that the Commanders weren't playing the Titans, so I knew that we were safe there. Real quick, the entire NFL schedule is released, and maybe as we move forward, because we're gonna have plenty of time to dissect all these games. What are your thoughts about the Lions being the team to open up against the Chiefs? That kind of surprised me. That is one that I saw. The defending champ always gets that Thursday opener.
Yeah.
How about the Lions being on the national stage to start the year?
Dan Campbell must be the NFL's sweetheart. The Lions are the NFL's sweetheart after that Hard Knocks appearance and just how they fought and scratched and clawed and bit kneecaps last year. They've earned their way into that position. I was a bit surprised to see that I think they had a couple of Monday night games or something like that, and you look at all the primetime games or the Monday night ones for sure. You would see, I think it was primetime games, and you would see, the Bills twice, the Eagles twice, the Chiefs, the Bengals, and then the Lions were on there twice. And I was like, huh, who would have
Yeah.
thought? Who would have thunk it? I mean, hey, Detroit, Motown City, welcome to the limelight, man. This is your year. Try to make some noise. You made some big plays in the offseason. Now you get to go and put it on the big stage. So I'm excited for them, but it caught me off guard.
Yeah, me too. It just seemed kind of random. You'd think they'd go Bills, Bengals, somebody like that. But hey, good for the Lions. We don't get to see them often other than Thanksgiving. So yeah, I'm excited
Yeah.
for them. It's fun to see a smaller team get the chance. But we are believing Commanders. The Commander schedule was unveiled, so I hear. I want you to read it out. Well, first off, let me tell you the two that I think I heard. I think I saw that the opener is against Arizona. Is that
Yep.
correct?
Correct.
And that is in Arizona. Is that right?
Nope. Nope.
Oh, it's at
The
home.
Commanders open at home.
Wow, I was not expecting that. See, I'm already surprised off the top. Okay, week 1
Yeah.
versus Arizona. And then I think I saw some of the primetime schedule, and I saw, was it week 5 they host the Bears on Thursday Night Football?
Correct.
All
Correct.
right. Those are it. That's it. That's all I got.
Correct. Good. Good. Well, I can say this. Hopefully, for the big game against the Bears, if they put the over under at like,
7?
19 points for the total,
Yeah.
hopefully it's over, not a 12-7.
Yeah, that was
Um,
brutal last year. As much as I
ooh.
enjoyed the Commanders winning, it was ugly.
Yeah, man, it's like take your medicine, and it sucks going down, but it's going to make you feel better at the end. But yes, okay, so Commanders start out hosting the Arizona Cardinals. Kyler Murray is injured, so that's exciting. I don't say exciting; it's not exciting, but it's good to know coming into the season you're not going to be facing against the team's starting quarterback,
Yeah.
right? You get to probably going to face your old mate in Colt McCoy, but
He's
we're not
still
going to go
out
into
there?
two.
My
He's
goodness.
still out
Okay.
there holding it down, man. He's a legend, man. He's a
He
legend in the state
is.
of Texas. We're not going to spend a whole lot of time on each individual game because we want to release it. We can talk about specifics later on, but week
And
two,
just in case you think I'm kidding, I'm writing them down. I have not seen any of these. This isn't like
blank
a
piece of
bit.
paper,
Yeah,
folks.
I'm like
All right.
legitimately, like I thought it was at Arizona.
He had to
I did not
scratch it
know.
out.
Yeah, so this is awesome. Okay.
I
All right.
love this. This
I'm
this
in.
is good. Okay, week two, they're on the road. They're going to
At.
go to Denver at
Ooh.
Denver. So
Okay.
you get Russell Wilson and Sean Payton in week two. I mean, we'll talk specifics later on, but those are a couple I think that you would want to be able to jump out and get a W on.
Yep.
Week three, you got your first challenge of the year. You welcome the Buffalo Bills. So
Ooh.
September 24th, it's going to be good weather, 12 o'clock. The Bills come into town. So you better be ready, right? Better be
No
ready.
doubt.
Week four, 10-1, October 1st, you're up to Philly. First time to face Philly, first division opponent. You start out October. Remember last year, October was, conveniently scary to go
Hmm.
with the Halloween theme. This time you start out with the Eagles up there in Philly. Week 5, we already talked about it. So this is that short week,
Yeah.
Sunday to Thursday. You host the Bears. So frankly, I'm not. Even though it's Thursday night game, everybody's going to have those. It's a short week, but at least you're not going too far to go to Philly, and
Yeah.
then you get to stay at home for that Thursday night game. Week 6, October 15th. They're down in your neck of the woods. The Commanders head to Atlanta.
All right. The Taylor Heineke Bowl.
The Taylor Heineke Bowl. Let's say it now. Is Taylor Heineke starting that game for Atlanta? Saying it now. Today is May 12th, and October 15th is when the Commanders play host, or actually the Commanders visit Atlanta, and
Five
Taylor
months from like
Heineke.
right now, from this
Yeah,
weekend.
5 months away, 5 months early. Is Taylor Heineke starting that game? Go.
Uh, I would say no, but somehow he always finds his way on the field. So I'm going to say yes. I think he's out
I'm gonna
there.
I'm I'm going with a yes as well. Taylor Heineke plays the starting quarterback against his old team in
They
Week
might
6 for the Atlanta Falcons.
they might just trot him out there for this game alone. I mean, it really is the Taylor Heineke Bowl.
Yeah, right. Exactly. You got to do it. You got to do it. Week 7. Here we go. Week 7. You're back to a division opponent. You're going up to East Rutherford to play the Giants. So this is week 7, right there at the bye week. You've got your second division opponent, followed up with a game hosting the Eagles. Hosting the Eagles. So far, week 8, you'll be done playing the Eagles. You will have played the Giants once, and you've had a primetime game so
Hmm.
far. So that's kind of what the Commanders have going. Going into week 9, you go over to New England to face the Patriots.
So
Week
that's the
10,
first. So at New England, week 9 is probably
mhm,
11-6,
11-5.
11-5. So the first
Look
game
at
in
you.
November. All right.
Yep,
I forgot
11-5. Then
the Halloween's 31. I forgot 31 days in October. Okay.
there you go. There you go. Seattle. You take a trip out to Seattle in
Ooh.
week 10. So that's 11-12. Two back-to-back road trips. I mean, fortunately, the first was pretty close. Then that second one, that flight to Seattle, I did that. Lord have mercy. I wasn't a fan. Had a
Bumpy?
touchdown in that game.
Oh yeah,
No, it
you
was
did.
it was just a long flight. And when you start talking about changing schedules, and I had marked this down about this particular week 9 and week 10, is when you're traveling to Seattle from DC, it's like a 5-6 hour flight. And you normally travel the day before the game. You'll travel Saturday morning. You'll be
Hmm.
there all day, sleep, wake up, play the game, and then
Right.
leave Sunday night. Well, you're not going to leave Saturday morning with that long of a flight. So you're going to have to leave either late Friday, early Friday, maybe late Thursday, depending on how much time you want to spend out there. You got to get acclimated to the time change because, 325 game it's 325 Central, so that's 125 out there, which is like
To
4 o'clock game to back in DC.
your body, right?
Yeah, so you got to get acclimated to that. That was something that I kind of circled as a
Interesting.
something that could just affect
Well,
some things.
well, I know coming up somewhere here, they're going to LA. You would almost hope that they could have gotten those back to back and maybe stayed out there. I know teams have done that before, but it seems like they
Yeah,
might have been split up a little bit.
yeah. Well, the schedule makers kind of switched some things around on us. So now week 11, you play host to the Giants, and then week 12 is the Thanksgiving game. So this is on the 23rd. The Giants
Ooh.
Giants game is the 19th. The 23rd is at Dallas for Thanksgiving.
Oh,
So right
back in
here
Dallas
in
for
right
Thanksgiving.
here, yeah. Mind you,
Um,
that's the first time to play Dallas this season.
Yeah, and I think that's awesome that they're going back. I enjoy that. I know that I think you said players don't always enjoy that, but I think when Dallas played Washington a couple years back, I think it was Alex Smith's last year with Ron Rivera. They put a whooping on the Cowboys. I think it was one of the most watched games in the whole season. So these two teams, despite not being as successful as they used to be, that rivalry is still real, and it does huge numbers. So I'm surprised. I'm honestly surprised that it's been 3-4 years now that they haven't played on Thanksgiving. So I kind of was wondering if this might happen this year.
I'm glad to see it back. I'm glad to see it back. That's a fun game. I've been to a couple of them. Obviously after playing. Here we go. Week 13, the first game in December on the 3rd, 12-3. The Dolphins go up to FedEx. Dolphins go to FedEx. So hopefully the weather's nice and cold. You can take some of that speed away from that offense.
Mm-hmm.
Now, what's one thing that you haven't seen so far, Brian?
It's looking a lot like last year. I haven't seen a bye week.
Week 14 bye week.
Okay,
A
goodness.
week 14 bye week. Now, number one, that's way down there. That's
Yes.
way down there. And it's one of those things, I think I said it last year, it kind of cuts both ways where having that late bye week, where if you're in a position where you're gearing up for the playoffs, it's good to have that late bye week where you're trying to get some people healthy. But on the flip side, you have to wait a really long time to get a break.
Yeah. Well, the one thing that does stand out is we mentioned Chicago in week 5. You don't play Atlanta again for 10 days. So you got a little buffer there. Same thing with Thanksgiving, albeit, still late in November. You play on the 23rd, you don't play again until December 3rd. So that's another
Yep.
10 days. But
Yep.
but that's not the same as taking a full week off. I'm sure you can speak to that. I mean, yeah, you probably get a day or two extra, but then you're right back at it preparing for another opponent. Whereas the bye
Yeah.
week, it's put your feet up for a second and get some rest.
Yeah, that's definitely one of those, rejuvenate, recharge, recuperate. If you don't, if any player just happens to make their way to this podcast, if you don't have a routine to get your body back to as close to 100% as possible, please hit me up. I
Mm-hmm.
would love to get you connected, to at least point you in the right direction of things to do, because taking care of your body. I learned this from Santana Moss. He said you don't have to be sore just because you're playing football. Like, you don't have to be hurting just because you're in the middle of the season. I always thought that. I was just like, I mean, it's football. That's what it is. But if you take care of your body, chiropractor, massage, etc., kind of rinse and repeat, you can get back to as close to 100% as possible. So this is important. With a late bye week, take care of your body. Get in there, lift weights after practice when you're supposed to. Do those things, those extra things that's going to help you be a better pro. Because week 14, man, your body's starting to break down a little bit. And that's a long way to wait to have a bye week.
Yeah, no doubt. All right, so 4 more weeks, a month. Excuse me. The rest of December into January. What does it look like for the Commanders to finish out?
It looks like one hell of a gauntlet, Brian. I'm just going to list them off. You mentioned going to LA. That happens week 15. That's 12-17. Christmas Eve game. You're in New York. All right. You're playing the Jets. Aaron Rodgers and the Jets on Christmas Eve. Gary Vaynerchuk. Gary V is going to be in attendance probably.
Well, and
You got to think. Go ahead.
the one good thing is Aaron Rodgers does not like his family, so he'll be very much focused on the game and not Christmas. So you think you get a distracted quarterback around the holidays in a new city, but not the case with Aaron Rodgers. It's going to be even more tough because he doesn't care about his family.
Yeah, I
Allegedly,
mean,
allegedly.
it's gonna be Christmas in the city. I mean, what? You kidding me? Go in there and play Scrooge.
Yeah.
Okay, last two games, Commanders are at home. Number one, week 17, New Year's Eve game. You're welcoming in the 49ers. Welcoming in
Mm.
the 49ers. And then week 18, once again, the Cowboys at home, FedEx Field, TBD. So the way things normally have gone in the NFC East, that game is probably going to be in that prime time category if it comes down to the wire, to where that game is going to determine something in the NFC East or the NFC playoff race.
Yeah, yeah. So I'm digesting this as we go, but yeah, that last game, you're right. And had things broken a little bit differently, that Week 18 game against Dallas last year could have very well been for the playoffs as well. So you're absolutely right.
Yep.
That has hopefully playoff implications written all over it. Hopefully the Commanders are sitting at 9 or 10 wins and looking to solidify their position there when the Cowboys come to town. So you've had a day now to I'm going to turn it back on you so I can get a second to look at it all. But you've had a day to digest this, to look at it. We know about the bye week. That probably stands out the most. But what what stretch or what part of the schedule stands out most to you for the Commanders in 2023?
Well, and I can speak to that in two breaths, two points, I should say. Number one, it's pertinent that you get started early. You have to start the season just with a win. You're playing against the Cardinals without Kyler Murray. You're going against the Broncos, who have a new head coach, and Russell Wilson's coming off of a very, very shaky year. They'll definitely want to bounce back. But if you don't start out 2-0 against those two teams, you're running into two teams, the Bills and the Eagles. Where best case scenario, you're thinking obviously 4-0, but realistically best is like a 2-2 coming out of the first 4 weeks of the year. So
Mm-hmm.
that those first couple of games, and plus you're going to backdoor those and play the Bears and the Eagles. So if you're talking, say, Bears and the Falcons, I'm sorry, you're going in that little 6 week stretch to start the season. You have to get the wins where you can. You're
Mm-hmm.
going to have to beat the team that you're supposed to beat, and you're probably going to have to steal a game from a team that maybe you weren't supposed to win that game, but you're going to have to find a way to get those things finished. That's the first stretch that jumped out to me. And the second stretch is that last month of the year. Finishing out with those, the Rams, Jets, Niners, and Cowboys. That is a very difficult stretch. A lot of tough teams. Obviously, two teams that were in the playoffs last year, one team that they are expecting to make a run with a new quarterback, and then the Rams, they've been there before. Don't really expect them to do much this year, but you're traveling to LA.
Yep.
So
Yeah.
that could be a tough bumpy road.
Yeah, for me, it's like you mentioned, you got two winnable games there to start the season. It feels very similar to last year when you started with the Jaguars and the Lions. Commanders only went 1-1 in that. You got to think that you want to get out to a hot start 2-0, like you mentioned, before going up against two, not just contenders, but Super Bowl contenders in the Bills and Eagles. I mean, that very well, Buffalo and Philadelphia, you could be facing the two teams playing in the Super Bowl if things break right. You know what I mean? So, yeah, if you're thinking about it, 2-2 after the first 4 weeks going into a Thursday night game at Chicago, I'd be feeling pretty good. But you're right. You got to take advantage of some of these weak teams. On the flip side, no offense to the Commanders, no offense to DC, the Atlanta, Chicago, Arizona, Denver, they're probably licking their chops getting to face Washington earlier in the season as well. It feels like very much a toss-up game that could go either way. But yeah, Washington, if they're going to be successful this year, they got to get these games against teams that, albeit on paper right now, are not very good.
Yeah. When I saw a list of uh, the most difficult schedules throughout the year, and I think the Eagles were number one.
Mm-hmm.
Basically, the entire NFC East was in like the top 7 or 8,
Yeah.
maybe even top 6. My question to you, I wrote this down. It was a thought. Obviously, the NFC East, they're going to play the same opponents. I was wondering, what opponent do you think that is not in the division could sweep the division? Is it the 49ers? Is it the Bills? The
I feel
Seahawks?
I feel like I feel like the 49ers are they're talking a whole lot about the Eagles and how they felt if Brock Purdy had stayed in that game, they would have been playing in the Super Bowl. So they got to back it up, and maybe they've kind of put a target on their back because they've been talking so much, but
Yeah.
they always hit people in the mouth, and Kyle Shanahan always has a game plan, whether it be his original starting quarterback or his third or fourth option. I wouldn't be surprised to see San Francisco do it. I also wouldn't be surprised to see like Bill Belichick, even though the Patriots may not be a great team, he always game
Mhm.
plans so well. And there's just like one of those weeks where they put up like 35, 42 points and they just absolutely run a team out of the building. I could see him going old school and taking down the NFC East. But I just feel like Philly and Dallas specifically are so tough this year. And I think they're going to be so tough that that's going to be hard too. But I think it's going to take a special coach to do it. I'll say
Yeah.
that.
Yeah. Shoot, you got everybody watching all your tape, and It's tough. It's tough to beat somebody twice, let alone go in there and try to sweep a whole division. That'd be a hell of a question.
Yeah.
Ask the AI
Yeah.
to look that up for us. Um, I mean, go
Real
ahead.
quick, I was looking at October and November, and obviously that is the chunk of your games. You've got 9 games from October 1st to November 23rd, and in 2 of those stretches, you've got short weeks. So I think October and November, where that meat of the schedule is super important, and it'll be important for this team to stay healthy, knowing that even at the beginning of November, your bye week's still over a month away. So I think that they've got to get some wins. They play all of their divisional opponents at least once in that stretch. The Giants twice.
Yeah,
So those are some key stretches in there as well. And I know that's not saying it's like duh. Obviously the media of the schedule is important, but I just think that that's kind of a marathon when you've got 9 games and what 8.5-ish weeks to
yeah.
cover there.
It's a lot of football. That's a lot of football, and it ties back into the point of getting started early. Getting
Mm-hmm.
those wins against the teams that you would think that you're lesser, that they're lesser than you are on paper. Teams that maybe you walk in feeling like you should be able to beat. Not disrespecting any opponent in this league, but you got to feel good. Going down to play Atlanta, going down to play the Bears, and they're improved, but they still have some areas to pay attention to. I mean, they've added DJ Moore, and they still
Yeah.
have Chase Claypool over there, and
Yeah.
they've added some players and improved that squad underneath that new GM Ryan Poles, and um, it's it's not. I mean, it's not an easy schedule. Like it's very difficult to sit here and just say, oh, yep, this is a win, this is a win. This like you can't do that with
Yeah.
this schedule.
Yeah.
I think you have to look at it week by week, one at a time, and truly don't look too far ahead, because if you do, yeah, you're bound to get beat by somebody.
Yeah, I think one of the things that maybe for the first time in a long time will factor into this is FedEx Field rocking a little bit louder. I think that
Yeah.
once the ownership situation fully figures itself out, which I noticed the New Jersey Devils are out of the playoffs in the NHL, and I got to think that if and when the Philadelphia 76ers can't beat the Boston Celtics in Game 7, that Josh Harris might fully turn his attention to DC. I don't know if I'm connecting like obvious dots there, but I got to think that he's a little distracted with his teams being in the playoffs. But either way, with new ownership in the building, I think there might be some home field advantage. So with
Yeah.
Buffalo coming in an early game, with the division opponents, those are going to be huge games. San Francisco at the end of the year, Miami, a fun team. I think that the home field crowd could play a part in some of these games, and actually, for the first time in maybe a decade or more, give Washington an advantage. And I'm excited to see that and to see how it plays out on that side of things. I think that's something that's not being looked at, and
We
maybe
need you.
could be a
They
little
need you.
you could be a little ace up your sleeve.
They need you. I mean, you had so many people boycotting attending the games because of the ownership and who was in charge. So if that changes, I would anticipate that those tarps come off. I anticipate
Absolutely.
that building is full. I mean, it's a beautiful thing when that burgundy and gold is draped all across that stadium, and you see so many jerseys and people yelling and screaming. Because frankly, it got old seeing other opponents take over our stadium. I mean that gets old. You look across the field and it's gangrene all over there. That's not a good thing. We don't want to hear chants from the other team. So show up, FedEx faithful. Make sure you're out there. Make sure you stand up for your squad and put your right hand up and just hold it down for the team.
Yeah.
Hold it down for the team. Brian, I had this question though. I want to
Okay.
ask you this one question. You get one ticket to any game, home or away. Which one are you choosing to go to? And this can be for any reason at all.
I um my first thought is uh, one of the division games, especially one of the late games, maybe that last game against Dallas.
Sure.
But I think I would go to Seattle. I think that stadium looks so cool, and I've always heard how loud it is. I'd love to go out there and see my team steal a victory, kind of like you did back in
Mm,
the day, catching that bomb from Rex Grossman. To see your team go
yellow.
pull an upset in a loud stadium like Seattle, I think I'd circle that 11-12 game. I think that'd be pretty cool. And it's my dad's birthday weekend, so I could treat him to a little
Boom.
birthday trip. That'd be really fun.
You could go to the original Starbucks. You could do the whole fish
Yeah,
throwing
shoot. Yeah.
thing. Now you got yourself a trip. Look at that. This
Right.
is more than just a podcast, folks. This is a travel cast. You learn about the different cities that you get to go to. For me, frankly, I wrote this question down. I asked it to Kyle over there, folks over there at the Burgundy Zone podcast. Shout out to those guys. Love hanging out with them. I will say city wise, I'll see Chicago's back at home. If Chicago was in Chicago, city wise, I would like to pick Chicago.
Yeah.
Um, Denver is a nice city as well. But for me, I think it would definitely be week 16, Christmas in the city,
Yeah.
going up to MetLife Field. I'm sorry, JetLife Stadium to see the Jets. I mean, it's 12 o'clock on a Christmas Eve Sunday. That I think that would be fun. That would be fun. Go out there and experience a game in the cold. And mind you, it gets hellified cold in that stadium. And I ain't a cold weather brother, but I would layer up to
Yeah.
be out there for that one. I think that one would be a good environment to be in.
We mentioned in passing that that Washington will actually play there twice, going to there to play the Giants earlier in the season, and then 2 months later, like you mentioned, going to the Jets. Yeah, it would be really cool to go to New York City in Christmas time. You had another one, and I wanted to kind of, as we wrap up here, I kind of wanted to tweak this question that you brought up. So if playoffs are what you're aiming for, Ron Rivera probably needs the playoffs to convince a new ownership group, I would think, that he needs to stick around. Let's do one word to describe the stretch, or let's do one word that that would make that happen, okay? And then we can expand on it, especially when you're looking at the schedule. So for me,
You're gonna have to go first.
Yeah, I know that's confusing. So one word, when I look at this schedule division, I think you got to finish at least 500 against the division. Last year you went 2-3-1, and legitimately, if you that tie would have gone one way, if one of those losses would have gone as a win, you would have been in the playoffs. I think sitting at 500 against that group of teams, who you could argue the Giants are right there with you, but you know the other two seem to be just a couple steps ahead of you. Mm-hmm. You got to have at least a 500 record, 3-3 in the division, or there's really no shot. 2-4, you're putting yourself. It's really, each loss in the division is really worth 2 games. So I think it's important to and you get a chance early on in the season to go up against Philly and New York in the first 7 weeks. So
sure,
you got to take advantage of the division when you can get them. Otherwise, the playoffs are you got no shot.
I mean, it's always division. I mean, inside that building, it's the division. You win your division, you definitely punch your ticket. If you find yourself any bit lower than first and sometimes second, you're gonna have to wait on somebody else to get you some help, and that doesn't happen that often in the league. But for me, mine will be on the flip side. It's the word. I'm not sure what the word would be, but you're going to have to show up. Right? You're going to have to show up. And what I mean by that is you need to show up at your best against every opponent. When you're going up against a weaker team, a lower team, somebody that you're supposed to be, I'm using air quotes, you need to beat that team handily. That should not be a struggle. I want this team to show up and do the things that they're supposed to do. You get on the road and play the Broncos tough in week 2. Go up there and get a victory. You play the Bears. Don't make it a close game. Yeah. Show up, right? I need the defense to show up. Chase Young, show up. If you show up in those games, because you got to think your division are playing these same opponents as well. Right. So if you can try to stack some wins over there, maybe, Arizona surprises one of your division opponents. I would expect the Jets to beat up on some other people in the division as well. So you just have to think, if you can beat some of those teams that are going to play some of your same division opponents, I think that's going to help you kind of jump ahead in a few spots, some tiebreaker situations.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, we can dive into this a little bit more, but it's fun to break it down originally. I still need to digest it more as I'm sitting here looking at it. I'm noticing more and more things that we could spend an hour on it. But I liked kind of being in the dark on it. I might try to do that again every year. It's kind of fun to get it revealed by my buddy AAA. So we'll dive into this more. Obviously, games don't start for another 4 months, but rookie mini camp is coming up. OTA is right around the corner. And then if you're going to these games, that's right. If you're going to these games, start planning now. Get your tickets now. You know what the roadmap looks like, and the roadmap to 9 or 10 wins that it would take to get into the playoffs. It starts right here. So it's always an exciting time. I know it's kind of lame to go game by game, win by win, but I know we're going to all be doing that in our heads. So that's what's fun about it, and that's what's fun about the NFL. So we'll break all these down. I've already got a couple ideas where we can expand on these a little bit and kind of dive into each matchup. But fun talking about the schedule. Now I'm going to go back and watch the Commanders release video and all that good stuff. So I'm playing a little bit behind. It's kind of like when somebody's sick on Christmas and you have to push it back a week or something. I'm getting the chance to do that now. So I'm going to go open up all my gifts and pretend like it's Christmas now.
That's delayed gratification, my man.
That's right.
Good for you. Good for you. You get to control where that dopamine and those endorphins come from and when they get dispersed. So good for you. Yes, we'll definitely break this down further. Guys, thank you for tuning in and listening this far. If you've made it, do us a favor. Go share this with a friend because we're on all streaming platforms. You can send it to them if they're on Apple Podcasts or Spotify or Google Podcasts. You can check them out on all of those. We're on YouTube on the Believe Network, and then we're also on some TV spots as well with a few different streaming platforms with Believe TV, Believe Football. Check us out over there. And also check us out on our social media. We're on Twitter. We're on Instagram. We're on TikTok. No dancing, just talking ball over there. Just talking ball. But do me a favor though. Answer my question. You get one ticket to one game. Go on to Twitter. Let us know. You get one ticket to one game. What game are you choosing? I would like to hear where everybody is going to be at. You know what I mean? I might pull up on y'all somewhere. So we'd love to interact with y'all more. And shout out to the folks over there at Bet Online. They take care of us each and every week. Go over there, put a futures bet down. I want to say the Commanders making the playoffs was like a plus 2,500. And I already felt like they could do it. And I also took the over on the 6.5 wins. And so, yeah, I did all those things. So you could do it too if you'd like to. Use our code BLEAV. Get that 50% welcome bonus if it's your first time signing up over there with those good folks at Bet Online. So for Air, I'm Anthony Armstrong. That's Brian Murphy. We will see you guys on the next episode of the Believe in Commander Show. Y'all have a good one.
Be good.